Hello to all you wonderful citizens in the ether. I'm peaceably, and I'm here to put my 2 cents in about my perspective about what's going on in the U.S. at the current point in time. Here we are at a crossroads where free speech, freedom of speech, a First Amendment right, is being threatened. Alas, there are many different points to this story and what's going on. Many different twists and turns. And first of all, let me tell you, this is about more than Jimmy Kimmel and other late night talk show hosts, but that's what we're going to be addressing. Jimmy Kimmel, who was suspended by the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who is a buddy of President Donald J. Trump, who is our current president of the United States. And this has to do with a lot of things. Let's go over it, okay? As of now, today is Monday, September 22nd, 2025. And as of the latest news, Jimmy Kimmel is being brought back to ABC, the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. Tomorrow, Tuesday, September 23rd, his show is going to be coming back. He was suspended indefinitely, so this is sort of a temporary, we'll see how he performs, what his monologue is. And I'm assuming he's going to punch back at this. And he's going to have to address what's going on, that he was suspended for a comment he made, which they claimed was insensitive, about who assassinated Charlie Kirk.
It hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
SAG-AFTRA, though, responding to the suspension, stating that the decision is the type of suppression and retaliation that endangers everyone's freedoms.
And it's coming back to a political, this is how it's going, that they're wanting to divide people left and right, American citizens, when we're all humans. And this is what the media does. This is why I avoided watching the news, but you can't keep your head in the sand forever. So as I said, I'm putting my little 2 cents in. Back to Jimmy Kimmel. So he's gonna have to talk about his brief little interlude. You know, there's a lot riding on this decision. Of course, he doesn't want to lose his paycheck here, even though he can get other jobs. It's a time of principles versus paychecks. But this is gonna be a delicate dance because he doesn't want to completely roll over. But also, if he punches too hard, then it could mean trouble. He's going to risk retaliation from this current administration if he fights back too hard. And this is like a very dangerous precedent here. This was on the one network, which is to the left, which is the predominant side, and big media today is on the liberal side, on the Democratic side. And they are saying that, which is it's a great thing, that because of the pushback against Disney, employees of Disney, journalists, public figures, celebrities, free speech groups, and other people, that Disney is bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. But perhaps it was just a little bit of who knows what they did, if it was a threat to make people scared, which is horrible, because you should be able to say what you want in America, and Americans have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the press should not have to censor themselves, especially entertainers. This is not hard-hitting journalism. This is not history. This is an entertainment, a talk show. So, but also another point is that I can see where the president is annoyed, because it is constant that they are going after him and making fun of him, attacking him. But they're punching up, and he's the perfect foil. He's so easy. I'm sorry, but he's so easy to make fun of. And it's words. It's not like they're suing him. They're not physically hurting him. Let's see, what is freedom of speech? What is the definition of freedom of speech? According to Google, the AI, the First Amendment of the Constitution it, quote, protects individuals' right to express themselves without government interference. This right is broad, encompassing verbal and symbolic acts. Okay, and it goes on, but it does not extend to categories of speech like incitement to violence, defamation, obscenity, or true threats, close quote. So, defamation, That's what it could possibly qualify as, and they're constantly insulting the current administration and the other political party that they're not on or whatever it is. If it's inaccurate, if it's willfully, knowingly inaccurate, that could be defamation, but that's almost impossible to prove in court. I'm sure people such as the president have considered, suing them. Some people like to sue everybody, but it's very hard to prove that defamation in court, to win that. And there was a case, New York versus Sullivan, if you can look it up.
New York Times v. Sullivan was a huge victory for both freedom of the press and freedom of speech.
Anyway, so moving on. The next thing, this has many things. This is just one thing that's going on. Imagine if we tried to discuss all the crazy things, all the extreme things going on right now. And this is only September of 2025. This current president has been in office since January. And so we have another 3+ years. He's doing a lot, getting a lot done fast. So what else do we need to think about is that one person is Bernie Sanders, who is, extreme on one end of the political spectrum. Even though he's extreme, he's still a voice of reason. He's a reasonable person. He had a perfect word for what's going on. He called it authoritarianism.
I mean, you've heard me say this a million times. This country is rapidly moving toward an authoritarian form of society. In authoritarian countries like Russia and others, Saudi Arabia, you do not have a media that is allowed to be critical of the government. Trump just, was it yesterday, the day before, announced a $50 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. We got some crises. We're trying to rally the American people against oligarchy, against authoritarianism we're currently seeing.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for making time tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
And that's exactly what's happening right now. I mean, it's true. Trump's using whatever power and leverage he has to further his agenda. No former U.S. president has used their leverage and their pull to fire people in this way.
You're fired. But, so, let's go.
President Trump, he pulls no punches. Of course, he had the famous line from The Apprentice, "You're fired.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
And he certainly loves to fire people.
You're fired.
Not everyone has a sense of loyalty. Some have loyalty when it serves their pockets.
You're fired. You're fired.
It personally benefits them. They don't know about loyalty. You're fired. I'm going to insert a clip here.
You're fired.
Another point. What the FCC Chair Carr and others have not acknowledged is that TV ratings, they're going down for everyone, for shows and networks. This is not because of the political leanings of talk show hosts, but because of all the streaming services and other options available. Brendan Carr is in the pocket of Trump.
So there's more work to go, but I'm very glad to see that America's broadcasters are standing up to serve the interests of their community. We don't just have this progressive foie gras coming out from New York and Hollywood.
TV ratings have gone down for everyone. We're going to replace Jimmy Kimmel Live with Celebrity Family Feud, but not now. Next point from Fox News. The mainstream media and major networks are extremely left-leaning, and yes, they do pick on Trump incessantly. They're right about that, but isn't that their job? They're the court jesters of today, and we need them. They said before, the president is a perfect foible. He just begs to be marked. He's an easy target. He can't help it. Understandably, from his point of view, if you were the person being relentlessly attacked, wouldn't you fight back and punch back in whatever way you could legally? I can understand how it would be annoying, even for those who are not political, to hear the same punchline over and over about the same person. It gets stale, tired, old. And there are others, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, and Jimmy Fallon. Stephen Colbert was let go, was fired. So this is the second late night talk show host who has been threatened or fired, basically, for having opinions that the current administration doesn't like, which is a complete violation of freedom of speech and the First Amendment right. to free speech, which is terrifying. And see, we don't know if this is a threat or if it's something that can spiral and get really out of hand, like the Philippines, which is a democracy like ours. And now is a time of great polarity. It almost, in a way, had to happen this way. It's time to decide what you believe in and what you support. It's not about politics either. Well, the pendulum had to swing this way into an authoritarian leadership so people could see. And what people know is that the people of the United States, as a population, greatly outnumber any government or any leadership. The United States of America was founded as a revolution against British rule. That's how our country started. But it's not a time for war, it's a time for peace, thinking things through and planning, and nonviolent opposition to tyranny or authoritarianism. Even though we were founded as a revolution against the British rule, there's so many things going on. This was just about freedom of speech. See, it mentioned he changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and it's not wartime. We're not going to war. It's a time for standing firmly in what you believe in, and peacefully standing, non-violently, opposing while we gather together, gather our wits, and we state what we will not tolerate as people of the United States of America. The founding fathers of the U.S., they put checks and fail-safes into place to protect against dictatorship and human rights violations, and there's no way one person can completely overhaul the system. It's not going to happen. Even if they fire people and put in their own people and try to do things in an unjust manner, that's not how things work. And it's not gonna, it's not possible. Next point, MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell. O'Donnell has a great point. He talks about Johnny Carson and how talk show entertainers were once non-political. They weren't political at all. Johnny Carson would never speak about the president because there was nothing to speak about. That was the good old days. It was boring. How boring.
1962 to 1992. 7 presidents. During those 30 years of Johnny Carson hosting The Tonight Show, an unwritten rule for Tonight Show writers was that Johnny Carson never told more than 3 political jokes in one monologue because Johnny thought that would be boring, because politics was boring. Remember the luxury of politics being boring? How old do you have to be able to remember when you had the luxury of feeling American politics was boring? And you were right. Now we have a president who is a joke, a president who is an unavoidable joke for people doing daily, nightly comedy. And Donald Trump doesn't like the joke. And so, as the comedians' microphones get cut off, the joke becomes darker.
If you told people about it 10 years ago, it's a joke. It's hard to believe it's reality, but it is. Lawrence O'Donnell, no relation to Rosie O'Donnell, I don't think. He has a good point. Oh my goodness. He says everything that's going on in the news now is a distraction from Trump's friendship, his affiliation with Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein.
Donald Trump was greeted with pictures and videos of himself and Jeffrey Epstein, and the fond birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein with what appears to be Donald Trump's signature, all projected onto Windsor Castle, where Donald Trump is staying during his state visit.
O'Donnell also mentions how being outraged at the dismissal of Stephen Colbert and the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel only served to further inflate a powerful figurehead's precarious and overly inflated ego. He's bringing it back to Epstein, Trump's visit to the UK, then he talks about Prince Andrew's affiliation with Epstein, and how when they asked him if he regretted it, that he was basically like, oh, I'm thankful I met him because of my connections and affiliations that he gained with Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, that is.
Do you regret the whole friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not, and the reason being is that the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn either by him or because of him were actually very useful.
What a horrible, horrible human being. Jeffrey Epstein was very useful to him. That's what the king's little brother thought.
Next point. I'm late to the party here. All this information is old now. It's only a few days old. It's old. The question remains, who will be canceled next? Is our freedom of speech being threatened? What do you think? A general overall theme in the US recently, especially since the pandemic, is the rise of the corporation. During the pandemic, when everyone was inside around the world and people couldn't get to physical stores and these small businesses went out of business, and especially if they didn't have a website or a way to deliver their goods and their services to their customers, they went out of business. The corporations survived. Many, many, many small businesses went out of business. The big corporations are still running. An example of this is Nexstar. This is what we're talking about. Nexstar Media Group is a very large company. They own 39% of TV viewership in the American households. And they're looking at a merger. The Trump administration is hitting people where it hurts. Their pocketbook, their livelihood, firing them like he did on The Apprentice if they don't comply with his way of thinking. Late night talk show hosts are being threatened to lose their jobs if they continue to criticize the current administration, and in particular, if they criticize the president, Mr. Donald J. Trump. This is completely un-American. It's against the ideals of our founding fathers. A dangerous precedent and a dangerous president. So let's hit back where it hurts. In their pocketbooks. Well, that's what they're worried about. We'll have to wait and see what happens, folks. But if this merger goes through, we'll boycott. Hey, you can cancel your subscriptions. Let me tell you something. On another note, Disney was once a family company with little cartoons and little mice and little animals singing with the birds and the little princesses and all these things. It was for children, but now they merged with Hulu. Disney has changed. Now on Disney Plus app, you can watch these shows about murderers and violence and sex and horror and death. For example, here's one. The Menendez Brothers. Monsters or Victims? That's a show title. Another Disney Plus option to watch is American Horror Story. Great show. Another show Disney Plus offers for you. Sex for Sale, The Untold Story. Along with, of course, The Little Mermaid. So, the dollar, the American dollar is the bottom line. They are not strictly family friendly. They're good shows, don't get me wrong. But they're not children's shows. They've been rebranded to continue to remain financially viable and strong. So Jimmy Kimmel's coming back tomorrow, Tuesday, September 23rd. People do favors, that's politics. Scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. You do me a favor, I do you a favor. It's always been like that, but not to this extent. Anywho, it's very scary. It's not good. Next topic. It's a little twist in the story. The big corporations are still running as the small businesses went out of business during the pandemic. An example, Nexstar. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they don't watch TV, television sets. They watch streaming services. Let's not support the corporatization of America. This is just insanity. It's a dangerous battle. And support your local community. Support your local community. Baby boomers and Gen X have the highest TV viewership statistically. As the younger generations move forward, less and less people are going to be watching TV. You can't skip the commercials if you don't have the DVR. The streaming services and the social media platforms reign supreme. The old heads, the corporations, these dinosaurs, they're going out kicking and screaming with the final death cry. We, the people, cannot be fooled anymore. Our awareness and our consciousness is growing with the expanding universe, folks. All this political stuff in the media, it's divisive. Is this good or is it bad? You be the judge. Most people consider themselves Republicans or Democrats. They say forget about the rest. because they don't count in the polls. They just take away from the big numbers. We're all U.S. citizens, we're humans, and we're planet Earthians. Another point being that the president keeps saying how bad Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are. He has 20 million subscribers on YouTube. That doesn't seem like bad ratings to me. Generally, TV watching is going down. He's wrong! He's wrong, you're wrong! Kimmel's ratings are not terrible. All these people are watching him online especially. But he consistently attacks the president. The president, can you imagine that? The president of the United States, somebody consistently, verbally going after them over and over. I can understand, like, if someone had such a big platform, they're constantly insulting you in a way that has become vicious. If you had power, I think most average Americans would retaliate if they could. They'd take that person's platform away. They're basically threatening you, so I can see that point of view of it. He's like, oh, you're going to keep making fun of me? You're going to keep poking at me? Find something else to talk about. These media outlets, they're one side or the other side. The truth always lies in the middle somewhere. So it's good to look at both sides of the coin, but people don't want to do that. They want to pick a side. Try to imagine the other person's perspective is what I suggest, because if you think you're right all the time, you're going to be proven wrong eventually. Nobody's right all the time. But stand strong by your convictions. Another point being that it's a culture of fear. Cowering to people have power to affect your income and livelihood and overall quality of life. Is this right? And what happened to the free speech? It's like a pissing contest. These men have gotten into a pissing contest with each other. That's not how it ever was. It's like people in certain positions are expected to have a certain amount of decorum to carry themselves in a certain way. Forget about it. Do whatever you want, is how it's kind of going. There are certain expectations that are out the window. There are no expectations there anymore. This is exactly what I was thinking. Flattery will get you everywhere. With somebody who did not have that growing up and didn't have the love and the pat on the back from a father figure especially, you should not do that and cower out of fear for something when you know it's right. Another point, Kimmel has hosted the show for 22 years. 22 years! Since January 2003, the Jimmy Kimmel Live show has been airing since January 2003. Was this defamation of character of a public figure? Even if it was, it's an entertainer. It's an entertainer. And so let me tell you, the largest local TV and digital media company in the United States, Nexstar, their stations cover approximately 39% of U.S. households, and there is a cap. There's an FCC cap. That's the top, 39%. No one company can have more than 39% of U.S. TV viewership because it's too much control for one entity to have. So they impose a 39% national audience reach cap on any single broadcast company. But Nexstar is trying to acquire Tegna, another company. And if they do merge, if this merger happens, they can be up to 80% control of American household viewership. That's a lot of power. And even though people are not watching TV like they once did, Nexstar has other streaming services and all these stations and Disney, Hulu, and other platforms and things, and that's just scary. It's not good. What I don't understand is that the Republicans don't want big government, and this is exactly the opposite. One company being having so much control. Even though Nexstar has a 39% hold on U.S. audiences as the cap, there's a little loophole, the UHF discount that Nexstar uses, and so even lesser systems that use UHF, they only count half of their audience towards the ownership cap, so it's really more than 39%. If Nexstar buys out Tegna for $6.2 billion, that'd be 80% of U.S. TV households. And that's going to be voted on September 30th, 2025. How politics work. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Underneath, at least the facade, is let's help the people, help the United States of America. No matter which party a person affiliates themselves with, Republican, Democrat, Independent, what have you. This is bad news Bays. Terrible. This is just one issue of many issues going on that are quite scary. We need to be aware of it and take our heads out of the sand. At least I'm telling myself this. And I have a right. I'm just being like everybody else. I'm going to spit this out there. I'm going to spew my little words, throw it out there. And that's that. So at least I didn't have my head up my ass. Censorship is insidious. It starts small, much like everything else. We must stand against censorship of free speech now before it escalates. We can do this by boycotting, because there's been a new turn where Kimmel has been reinstated tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. If you're not willing to do the boycott thing, you can use your voice on social media. I think we need to start a hashtag. Somebody come up with a hashtag. How about hashtag free speech costs a lot? Or think of a better one. This is just one thing going on. Can you imagine in the very beginning stages? How much can I do? How much sway can I have? After all of that, well, don't forget that you're doing a phenomenal job, and tomorrow is another day to hit the reset button.
That was easy.
So there you go.